I was there just with the doctor, and he says, "Are you married?" I go, "Yes." He goes, "Get your wife on the phone." And he started throwing words out like heart failure and myocardiopathy and a lot of scary words related to my heart. I've got teenagers, and I've got a teenage boy, and him and I, like probably all fathers and sons, can roughhouse a bit. And I had started experiencing some chest pains, and I kind of brushed it off because I figured maybe I just caught an elbow or shoulder when we were roughhousing. It was just kind of sore and bruised and wasn't a big deal. But after a few months, it just didn't go away. And so I went to my primary care doctor and said, "Hey, having chest pains." And so he said, "Let's do a EKG and just see how things are looking." And it turned out that my EKG showed some concerning things. My heart wasn't beating the way it should. The electrical current was off. They were very concerned by that, so much so that they actually called a cardiologist right there on the spot. And so that kind of started my heart journey. And so that kind of started some procedures. I had to have a left heart catheterization. I had to have ablation, more testing, and thankfully, nothing was clogged in the heart. All the arteries were good. Got that fixed and feeling healthy and feeling good today.
Dan Wilkinson, what's up?
Oh, not much. Sitting here with you.
Well, thanks for coming in. I
Yeah.
appreciate you being here on the Generational Health Podcast. I am starting to just call it the GHP because it's easier to say.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mouthful, but thanks for coming in. I'm really looking forward to talking to you. I know you and I have had a friendly relationship for a while, and I have a little bit of knowledge of kind of your health journey and some of the stuff that you've experienced over the last few years. And I thought you'd be awesome to come in here and talk through it. But before we do, I would love to just have you give a few minutes and just tell us, who is Dan Wilkinson? Who is this guy that's here? A little bit of background about yourself, what you do, your family, all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I work in the finance industry. I've been doing that for about 27 years now, and got married with 4 kids that are all very active in lifestyle, school activities. Keeps me very busy. Keeps my wife very busy, as you probably do as well. You divide and conquer on the weekends with the different kids' activities. So love sports, love basketball, football, love watching it with my kids and just spending time with family, hikes, camping. Just did that this past weekend. So good times.
Yeah. I know your son, he's quite the athlete. So he's a quick little runner. So did you grow up active? Like, were you like a ball player? You're super tall.
Yeah.
I'm like a lot shorter than you are. So I'm just curious, like, what sports did you play growing up?
So I played basketball. I played basketball all through high school, and then served a mission for my church for a couple of years, and then came home and was active, still playing basketball quite a bit, and then ended up doing a devastating knee injury, which put me out of action for a few years, and that's where I think some of my unhealthy issues with weight kind of started from there.
So you said unhealthy weight. So what happened? I mean, I've known you for a bit. I know that you lost a bit of weight, and we'll get there. But from the time you injured your knee, what was that journey like? And I mean, how much weight are we talking about?
I was going to school, and the job I had at the time, I was a server at a country club up in Scottsdale. And so they would feed us, and I worked the late shift because I was, going to school during the day. And so we'd get fed pretty well. Working there was a small staff. And so was not exercising at all because the knee surgery. I'd done some rehab, but with a severe injury like that, sometimes it's more mental than physical. So the physical part took about a year to heal up, and then mentally it probably took another year or two before I trusted my knee. And so, not being active, eating unhealthy, put on, I don't know, probably 40, 50 pounds at that point. And I'm 6'5", like I said, I'm tall. So, I could hide that weight fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
But just with the, wear and tear of life and family and kids, and not really able to find time for yourself sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
to take care of yourself physically, over the years, kind of would add, 5 or 6 pounds here, 5 or 6 pounds there, until was pushing probably close to 290, around 290 at one point. So
That's pretty big, especially
yeah,
for a 6'5" guy.
yeah,
I think that's pretty normal though. I'm just thinking through your experience there, and I think there's a lot of people that were really active as kids, played sports, have obviously injury ends up changing a lot of people's health trajectory. But even just getting into having a family, starting your career, trying to get through school, time becomes kind of one of those things that it's pretty, when you have these things that tend to feel like they're a much bigger priority than going for a walk or
mm-hmm.
going to the gym or whatever. Sometimes that even feels selfish. You're putting all this time in school, trying to graduate so you can take care of your family and provide and protect your wife and kids and all that kind of stuff. Oftentimes we put our health to the side, and you throw an injury in there too, and it's probably just going to exacerbate the problem. Okay, so you reach 290 pounds. You had prior knee injuries, just kind of bad habits. I'm just curious, during that time, how did you feel? Did you feel okay? Did you feel normal? Do you feel like you were wanting to like change, or were you comfortable just kind of where you were at?
No, I definitely wasn't comfortable. It made doing tasks obviously more difficult, not being healthy or in shape. I would still, I coached my kids all, through flag football, soccer. So I was always involved, and it's harder to be as active as you'd want to be when you're not in the kind of shape that you need to be in to do those activities. But still stayed active there, but it definitely made things more difficult. And I wasn't happy with my weight. It was definitely a thing that bothered me. And being that heavy and exercising was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt, being there. I would ride my bike, and that was probably about the best exercise I could do that wasn't so painful or stressful on my knees and feet and stuff.
So what was the moment that you realized something had to change and you're like, okay, I can't do this anymore, something needs to change? Or was there a life moment that you just thought, I need to readjust and focus on my health?
Yeah, it was probably 4 years ago now. My father-in-law passed away unexpectedly. He was healthy as far as we knew. It wasn't until afterwards we found out he had some heart issues. But he passed away, and at that point I was kind of a light clicked on, and I said, hey, I gotta get myself healthy and figure out what that means. And I think with a lot of people, especially probably men in their 30s and early 40s, we don't go to the doctor, unless we absolutely have to. And so I hadn't gone to a primary care doctor for probably 10 to 15 years. I didn't even have a primary care doctor. So I hadn't had blood work, hadn't done any checkups, hadn't really done any of those things that I probably should have been doing. And so I found a good primary care doctor, went in and said, I need to lose weight, need to get healthy. And he did blood work on me, and probably like a lot of men, my cholesterol was through the roof, was very high. My A1C was high. I was right at the kind of the pre-diabetic point. And so he had put me on a statin to kind of help with cholesterol, and said, you need to eat healthier and start exercising more, which I tried to do. I did eat healthier and rode my bike more, took our dogs for walks, and I did lose about 10 pounds doing that, but it stopped at that, and I could not lose any more weight on my own, no matter how hard I tried or what I did.
Why do you think that plateaued?
as I've kind of done a lot of reading over the last few years, I found that there's a lot of kind of chemistry in your body, that your body gets set with a weight point that it likes to be at, or it's used to being at. And I think mine was right in that 275, 280 range at that point. And that's, like I said, that's as low as I could get no matter what I did. So,
yeah. So what got you past kind of that breaking point, that plateau? What changed? Because I know you lost a lot more than that. So
yeah. So I was talking to one of my fellow soccer dads, and
which I'm one of them.
You are one of the soccer dads.
I'm one of the soccer dads.
You're one of the soccer dads. Yep, soccer dad. And they were telling me that I should talk to my doctor about semaglutide. That it was a relatively newer drug for weight loss, but that it had tremendous success with helping people that, like myself, that had a hard time losing weight, and it had more to do with kind of the physiology of your body, the chemistry, makeup of your body, and helped to kind of get you reset as far as your weight point limit was. And so I went to my doctor, I think the next week, and it was kind of funny because he had a intern there that was helping him out doing for school. And I'd mentioned to her that my soccer dad buddy had told me to try semaglutide. And when I mentioned it to her, her face lit up. She was like, oh my gosh, we just learned about all these GLP-1s in school this past week. Absolutely. These things are amazing. They don't just help you with weight loss. They help with so many other aspects of your health and your body. I absolutely think that would be a great idea. Let's talk to the doctor when he comes in. And he ended up coming in and said, yes, let's do it. And so from that point on, I was put on semaglutide. And, anyone that's been on those, you have to kind of work up to it, low doses up to the max dose. And from that point on, over the next year and a half, I lost about another 75 pounds. So I've been in the 205 to 215 range for about the last year now. So maintaining that weight limit.
So I'm just curious, because there's a lot of people that are hesitant to get on GLP-1s. A lot of people feel like maybe it's just fear of the unknown. They don't know if it has unintended side effects or consequences. And there's also kind of this taboo part about it where they feel like they're cheating. Like you lost that initial 10 pounds working your butt off, right? You were biking, you were trying to be as active as you could without hurting your joints and everything else. You were eating right, you plateaued. But what would you say to those that might be sitting on the fence feeling like doing that would be cheating?
Honestly, I don't think it's cheating at all. They've done so much research, especially over the last few years, when it comes to the chemistry in your body, that they've been able to identify factors with your health, with just the makeup of your body chemistry, your brain chemistry, that not, unless you are self-employed or extremely rich, you don't need to work every day, and you can go to the gym and hang out for 8 hours every day and do everything. It's I think it makes it very difficult to lose weight on your own when you're heavier and you've been heavy for a long time. And so the semaglutide medication was definitely a game changer for me. And I don't think it was cheating at all, because it does things to your body that you can't do no matter how hard you work out or exercise or eat. That helps to, I would say, recalibrate your body into losing weight and helping to keep the weight off, or at least gets you to a point where doing healthy eating and some exercising helps you to maintain that weight loss. But it for me was a game changer, and I would look at it as any kind of medication that anybody takes. I mean, it's taking Tylenol for a headache, cheating. It's taking vitamins, cheating. Giving your body things that it needs to help it to function properly and as well as it possibly can. So I think it's just one of those things that has come along that has can help people a lot in their goals for weight loss and being healthy.
No, I'm with you on that. I think it's very much an individual decision, and I respect those that want to try to do whatever they can without the help of these tools. But you brought up Tylenol and others, like those are chemical compounds, that are not naturally found in your body. You don't have a headache because you have a Tylenol deficiency, right? Like,
Right.
that happens because of our environment. Things happen. But we have those as tools to help us with headaches. The unique thing with GLP-1s is it's a peptide. So your body naturally is already producing those, and you're essentially supplementing with additional amounts of that that GLP-1, which is essentially mimicking that hormone process in your body. And also the half-life is much longer. So like a lot of people say, well, you go eat this way, high protein diets, that'll boost like your natural GLP-1 production. Yes, they're not wrong. But when you eat, let's say, a really satiating high protein meal, you're satiated, but the GLP-1s the GLP-1 production in your system, it's basically gone within a few hours. Whereas with these GLP-1s, I think the reason they've been so impactful for weight loss, especially those that fit that obese category and those that are, on the verge of having, or diabetic, pre-diabetic, insulin resistance, high HbA1c, all that stuff. These have been a game changer for them because the half-life is so much longer that you only have to take that shot once a week and you can feel satiated. But at the same time, what's really important, which I know you focused on too, was not just using it and not doing anything else. You still continued to like focus on the being active part of it. Probably, I'm sure you had a lot of coaching around like, hey, make sure you're doing resistance training, because when you lose a lot of weight like that, you're going to lose some muscle.
Right.
But how can we lose the least amount of muscle? Because muscle is that organ of longevity that if you want to live a long time, you better have muscle. Otherwise, you're just going to be frail and have osteoporosis, and you're going to break a hip, and you're toast. So you want to maintain that muscle, and then on top of that, the healthy eating habits. You probably noticed, I'm guessing, when you were taking GLP-1s, did you ever notice that if you ate really crappy, that you'd actually feel really crappy on it?
100%.
Yeah. So that's actually kind of one thing that I love about the GLP-1s, is because I've had people come to me and just be like, I'm taking it and I'm feeling so sick. And I'm like, well, what are you eating? And I'm like, well, I haven't really changed my diet. I'm still, I just had a cheeseburger last night. Like, your body's rejecting it. It's not allowing it. So I'm assuming you had similar cases. Are there any foods that, like, if you had someone that was looking at taking GLP-1s right now, what foods would you tell them to absolutely avoid?
Not just foods, but drinks as well. I loved Dr. Pepper. That was my drink of choice. I love Dr. Pepper, and I found my desire for sodas and the sugary drinks to have been greatly diminished as well in the GLP-1. So it definitely helped there as well. But I would say anything that is overly greasy, deep fried, heavy are things that would not sit well with me on the GLP-1 unless I did very small portions. So you can still basically, I think, eat almost anything you want to eat, but your desire to eat them goes away. So you really kind of don't want to eat those things. But if you end up doing so, it's much smaller portions, and they last you a lot longer as far as feeling hungry or not.
Yeah. Is there anything else that your doctor put you on to help optimize your health during this time? Was it just GLP-1s and lifestyle changes, or was there anything else that may have helped you kind of optimize your health?
Yeah, so he put me on a statin for my cholesterol to help get that lower. Like I said, it was in the red. It was up there. I think there's 4 different kinds of cholesterols, 1 good and 3 bad. And my 1 good was low, and my 3 bad were extremely high. And it was interesting because with the statins, it did bring it down. And if you ever look at your blood work panels, there's usually a green section that's very open, or it's from 300 to 900 is considered okay. And I was still in like the high 850s, 860s, barely in the green, and that was on the statin. And after a year of being on the GLP-1, and still, my doctor was still doing blood work every 6 months. And after about a year of the GLP-1, he did a full panel on me. my cholesterol was not even in the green anymore. There's actually a section below the green that's blue that is ideal, and actually says ideal. And all my cholesterol levels had left from being red to barely being green to now being blue and ideal, being super low. And he was shocked by it. He was very happy with the results. And so my cholesterols were all down. My A1C was next to nothing. I was not even close to being pre-diabetic. It was, below, even the green. It was all good. So I would say my blood work at that point looked better than it's ever looked, probably since I was in high school. So,
how did you feel?
Felt much better. I could run around more without losing, breath or being short of breath. Could be more active with my kids. Felt more motivated to get up and get stuff done and do things even around the house because I had more energy. So, I mean, it was definitely changed my life for the good in every way. So.
That's awesome. It's been fun to hear people talk about not just the the victories they've had losing weight, but really how it's made them feel, their confidence. You mentioned earlier that, your weight bothered you, so it's kind of just one of these things where I don't know if you've ever since then been to the gym and picked up. So how much weight did you lose total?
About 80 to 90 pounds.
80, 90 pounds.
Yeah.
If you went and picked up 90 pounds right now at the gym, a 90-pound dumbbell, and just walked around with it, isn't it mind-blowing to think that that's how much you were carrying around with you in excess?
About a couple of years ago, after I'd lost the majority of that weight, I was actually carrying my daughter, who had fallen asleep, upstairs to her bedroom. And I remember carrying her upstairs going, oh my gosh, like this is really heavy. And this is what I was walking around with every day plus more. And it was mind numbing.
Yeah. But also, how awesome is it that you could carry your daughter to bed? Like that's what it's all about. Right.
Right.
Kind of the why behind a lot of this stuff is really like, what is it? Like, why optimize your health? A lot of it's mental, a lot of it's spiritual. When we look better, we feel better, but when we feel better, we also act better, we behave better. We increase our capacity to serve and to love and to be active with our kids, all that kind of stuff. Everything kind of gets improved. But you spent a lot of time optimizing your health. You lost 90 pounds. But I know that you then had additional challenges that popped up. So if you wouldn't mind maybe just telling us like what happened, and when did you first discover that you maybe had something else going on?
Yeah. So I've got teenagers, and I've got a teenage boy, and him and I, like probably all fathers and sons, can roughhouse a bit. Mm-hmm. And he's 6'2", big kid, and we're always playing basketball and having fun. And I had started experiencing some chest pains, and I kind of brushed it off for probably about a month or two, because I figured maybe I just caught an elbow or shoulder when we were roughhousing. It was just kind of sore and bruised, and it wasn't a big deal. But after a few months, it just didn't go away. And so I went to my primary care doctor and said, hey, having chest pains, not like heart attack symptoms or anything like that, just a soreness in my chest. And so he said, let's do a EKG and just see how things are looking. And so I went into the office the next week, and they did an EKG, and it turned out that my EKG showed some concerning things. My heart wasn't beating the way it should. The electrical current was off. And so they were very concerned by that, so much so they actually called a cardiologist right there on the spot to see how they should deal with me, if I should just go straight to the emergency room or what my next step should be. And the cardiologist said, no, he doesn't need to go to the hospital unless he starts feeling something different, then he should go. But let's get him in right away. And so they kind of got me into the cardiologist within a few weeks. And if anyone's had any experience with cardiologists, usually you're 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks out before you can even be seen. And they got me in like a week and a half later, which is pretty quick. And so that kind of started my heart journey, where at first they told me it's fine, don't worry about it. Lots of people have abnormal EKGs, and it's normal. But we're going to kind of do testing along the way. And there was no urgency over the next, 2.5 months. They did an echocardiogram, stress test, and everything was kind of coming out okay. And, until we did the echocardiogram. Once I had that and he looked at that, he pulled me into the office, and it was kind of a scary moment. I was there just with the doctor, and he says, "Are you married?" I go, "Yes." He goes, "Get your wife on the phone." And I went, "Okay." And so got my wife on the phone, and he started throwing words out like heart failure and myocardiopathy and a lot of scary words related to my heart, and obviously scared me quite a bit and concerned me. And so that kind of started some procedures. I had to have a left heart catheterization. I had to have ablation, more testing, and thankfully, nothing was clogged in the heart. All the arteries were good, and I definitely think that had a lot to do with the GLP-1 and kind of getting my heart healthy in that area. I think being 80, 90 pounds lighter was definitely very helpful, and then being able to more easily get in and look around and a lot less stress on my heart being that much less weight. So got that fixed and feeling healthy and feeling good today.
So during that time when things got scary, how was your wife feeling?
She was terrified. As husband and father, like you said, our job is to protect and provide, and I kept on trying to reassure her, "Hey, if something bad happens, you're fine. You'll be okay. Like we've made sure that financially and everything like that, you're taken care of. Everything's good." And she would just kind of tell me, "It's not about just that. It's about having you around, being with you, and having you with the kids and having their father." And so, from my point of view, it was more about, if something happens, at least I know everyone's taken care of. Everyone will be fine. Mm. And her point of view was, well, we need you here, not, that's the most important thing. And so it was very stressful for her and a hard time for her, because she obviously didn't want anything bad to be happening to me. So.
Well, sometimes these big life moments, I think they help shift our perspective, and they force us to focus on what's most important. During that time, you had a legitimate scare of potentially dying. Mm-hmm. Anytime you go in with major heart issues and they don't know the answer to it, you're gonna have to jump to assuming, or at least planning for the worst. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that you took some steps to plan for the worst.
Yes.
And you hope for the best. But during that time, is there anything in like your general perspective, whether it's like with your family or things that became apparently clear that you just really wanted to focus on? What are some lessons that maybe you were taught during that time?
I think to appreciate every day more, appreciate life, appreciate being with your family and being able to participate in activities with them and do things. There was a period where they kind of put me on a reduced activity schedule. They didn't want me out running around or playing soccer with the kids, being out there on the field and doing any strenuous activities for a while, until they could figure out what the situation was with my heart. So it made me appreciate the little things, just being able to get up and go and do what I wanted to do. When someone tells you can't do something is when you kind of realize how much you like doing what you can't do anymore. So it was definitely a blessing when everything got checked out and cleared and fixed, that they said, "Okay, you're good to do whatever you want again." And it made me appreciate that.
That's huge. Yeah, you're right. I had another guest on here and we were talking about something similar, and he had a physical therapist that basically told him, like, this is your new normal, so get used to it. And he basically said, "No, it's not." and the physical therapist was like, "Okay, well, we'll do what we can," And I think a lot of it's I don't know. It's just, I think we take a lot for granted when we can just move and we can get around and we're healthy and we wake up the next morning. And I know I do. I think we just get up in the morning and we go about our day and we don't really think about like what a huge blessing it is that you can walk, that you can talk, that you woke up. And so sometimes, like I was saying earlier, when you have these moments where you think I might not be here tomorrow, I'm going in for heart surgery. There's been far less complicated surgeries where people haven't woken up from them than the one you had. And, just to have that, just to wake up that next morning and then being able to just be with your family and kind of like what your wife said, it's not about me being taken care of. It's not about, having enough money to pay the mortgage when and if you were gone. They want you. They want your time. And I think that goes to anybody right now that's even healthy. Like, I think people just want, like our kids, they just want us. They want our time. Like being alive, I mentioned this on another one too, but like being alive that's not really it. It's like being alive is part of it, but it's like living is what we're here for. And what does that mean? What does it mean to actually like live? It's a lot different than just waking up in the morning. So a lot of it just has to, do with taking a personal check on all the things that we have and what we're blessed with. And without our health, I mean, what do you have, right? If you can't function, if you can't do all the things you like doing, then what do you have? You really have nothing.
Right.
Well, that's good. So I'm curious, like any thoughts for people that might be kind of hesitant to start their health journey, whether it's weight loss or hormone optimization or just feeling sluggish, not able to do the things they enjoy doing. I'm curious, what advice would you have for them?
Start, would be the biggest thing is, the Nike slogan, just do it. You've got to have a goal for yourself. If you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I need to change that, then do something to change it. And, if you want to start off by eating healthier and exercising and see where you can get to with just doing that, go for it. That's how I started. And then if you need that extra boost to get on a GLP-1, they've been around a lot longer than the last few years. So they've been studied, and there've been multiple tests. You can read about them where they do more than just weight loss. For me, it was lowering my A1C. It was lowering my cholesterol. Heart health, brain health. There's so many benefits to it. So I would say get started, start today. And, like with anything in life, you're probably going to fail on your own here and there. Just put your head down and start over and just keep going until you achieve the results that you're looking for.
So if there's anything from like looking back at the time that you got injured, right? So you injured your knee. What advice would you give yourself now, knowing what you know right now? What advice would you give yourself back then, right after that knee injury?
I probably would have eaten a lot healthier and smaller portions at that point to prevent the weight gain. When you've been a very active person and all of a sudden you can't be active anymore, you need to change your other habits and lifestyle to accommodate for the least or the less exercise you're able to do. So once you can start exercising and working out and going for walks with your dogs again, then you can kind of readjust. But I think for me, if I had something to tell my younger self, is watch what you're eating now, because it's going to influence you a lot more, because you can't work to get it off of you by exercising, because you just can't exercise right now.
And what about, I'm curious, like your kids have watched you go through all this journey. I'm curious, what lessons do you think that you've taught them, or at least what lessons do you hope that they've taken from you? A lot of times we don't want our kids to have to go through the same stuff that we do and not reinvent the wheel or have to just figure it out down the road. But what lessons are you hoping that they're taking from all of this, that they can, once you and I are long gone, you know, what kind of things do you hope they'll learn from you and carry on?
I hope that they learn that it's okay to get help, whether it's, physical help, mental help, spiritual help, that it's okay to ask and it's okay to get that assistance. We're not alone. There's other people out there that are here to help, and there's other people that are going through the same things that we are. It's okay to acknowledge that and to, be okay with yourself, but it's okay to also want something more and to strive to be healthier and to be happy with yourself. I've got 2 daughters, obviously, with, one of them's a teenager, appearance is obviously very important. And so, I would just say that it's important that, that they're happy with themselves. And if kids, they need help, ask for it.
Yeah. I just have one daughter, but she scares me the most by far. I'm like, she turns 8 this year, but I see like this little mini teenager, so you saying you have a teen girl, it kind of scares me. Kids can be really mean to each other, especially what I've seen the way girls can be to each other. And, yeah. Anyway, so trying to teach them is kind of a unique thing too. Obviously, trying to help them have positive, images of themselves and not trying to compare themselves to what they see on Instagram or how many likes they get. Are there any particular lessons that you're kind of teaching your kids as far as like self-love and self, worth? Like, what kinds of stuff do you guys do to help your kids just have kind of like a healthy outlook on themselves as they're going into kind of these really malleable, sensitive years of life where that image is kind of like a big deal and how they see themselves is a big deal. And you see like these just increased levels of depression in kids that we've never seen before. It's so much higher. Suicide rates are so much higher than they have ever been before. Are there anything that you do with your kids? I know we kind of have our own, but I'd be interested to know like if you have any restrictions on certain things or anything that you do to help them kind of avoid getting stuck in some of these like social traps.
Yeah. We have not allowed our kids to have social media until they're older. My son didn't get it till he was 17, and my teenage daughter, who is almost 16, does not have it. And we've done that because, as we've told them, and they still see it. They still see it around. It's hard to avoid, but we've let them know that, most of what you see is the highest of the highs for other people. You don't get to see the lowest of the lows or just the average day of a person's life on social media. Usually it's some big, great, wonderful, fabulous thing. And we try to let them know that those are like the highlight reels of someone's life. That sometimes as we've come to learn, a lot of times it's just fake. It's not even how it really happened or what really happened, but people are trying to tell a story and that may not even be real. And so we let them know, we try and keep them grounded in life, what life is, the things that are really truly important in life, family, close friends that love and cherish you, have love and cherish you. And that, anyone that's looking to harm you or get you to do something that is not good, they're not really your friend. And so we just try to kind of educate them and help them to see, what life is really all about, and to put your faith and put your trust in things that you can put your faith and trust into that aren't going to let you down, that aren't going to steer you down the wrong path. So,
how important do you think friends are for kids? Good friends.
I think friends are huge. I think sometimes, and again, this is social media, that I think plays a negative role in it, is I think sometimes, especially with teenagers, you'll see something and it's like, oh my gosh, they have 10,000 followers or 1,000 followers. But how many of those 1,000 people are really, truly going to be there for them if they need it or if something happens? And it'd be more important to have 1 or 2 or 3 close friends that you could rely on, that you could turn to and count on for whatever you need versus, people that just follow you.
So I brought this up. Something just came to mind, and I had to look this up because I was doing some research on the importance of, because you said what matters most, right? And you said, like your family and your friends, and so I've done some digging on this topic because there is a tie with longevity and health and wellness. At Hiva Health, we have a huge emphasis on all aspects of health. We believe that there's a huge mind-body connection. So like mental health is very much tied in with your physical health. You've probably experienced a lot of that during your whole journey, but even the aspects of emotional and spiritual. But there's been so many studies done on the importance of people with strong social relationships. But they get complicated too, because sometimes we think we have strong relationships, but we don't. But there was a 2010 study done that showed that individuals with strong social relationships had a 50% increased chance of survival over those with weaker connections, a benefit comparable to quitting smoking and greater than fighting obesity or inactivity. So strong relationships increase your lifespan. There's another study from Harvard that was one of the longest studies on human happiness, concluded that close relationships, more than money or fame, are what keep people happy and healthy throughout life. And a lot of us deal with different types of relationships. I worry about my kids. I don't know what goes on at school. I don't know what's being said. I hope my kids are good examples. I've tried to teach them right, and I think they're pretty dang good kids. But they mess up too. But I hope that they really truly are good friends to those that they consider their good friends. We all have friends that kind of come and go in our lives, but given kind of on this topic, the importance of relationships, I actually put together a list of 10 things. So if you're cool with this, just because we're on it, I thought maybe I'll read it. As you think about your kids and their friends, and maybe even your own relationships, and some of us have complicated family relationships, and all that will fall into this. But real friends don't make you question your worth. They remind you of it. Real friends don't compete with your growth. They cheer it on. Real friends don't disappear when life gets hard. They lean in. Real friends don't dim your light. They help you shine brighter. Real friends don't keep score. They show up because they want to, not because they have to. Real friends don't gossip behind your back. They protect your name when you're not in the room. Real friends don't drain your energy. They help you recharge. Real friends don't judge your mess. They sit with you in it. Real friends don't disappear when you succeed. They celebrate like it's their own. Real friends don't make you feel like too much. They make space for all of you. So anyway, I just did a bit of research on what true friendship was, especially as we're trying to all just search for, happiness. And again, it kind of comes down to not just lifespan, but what I would call health span. And that is optimizing kind of the quality years that we have left. We only have so many, and we're trying, with what we do and in our business, we're trying to help people optimize whatever that is, whether that's being able to carry your daughter from the couch dead asleep to bed. Right. That kind of stuff means a lot to me as a parent. The fact that I'm able to do that, and I mean, that's what it's all about for me, to be able to go in the backyard and throw a football and run around with my kids. And but even down to the friendships, have you ever read that book or heard of it from Dr. Shetty on searching for happiness?
No, I haven't.
I think it was Dr. Shetty. I could be wrong, but he wrote it, and I think Oprah Winfrey had a piece of this too. But they honed in on a few things that I thought were really interesting about how we find happiness in life. And it was, I want to say, it was like our faith. So having kind of like a fundamental sense of purpose, our family members, friends, and then feeling like we're productively working on something valuable. So finding joy in what you do for work.
Mhm.
That last one's kind of hard sometimes for a lot of people, but it's important. Like, it's important to find like what drives you at work. And I think there's a lot of people that just get stuck in a job and it's a paycheck. But if they can find happiness in the fact that they're getting that paycheck so that they can do something really valuable with that, like care for their family, it changes your paradigm and shifts that paradigm and perspective on what that's all about. But those relationships, both family and friends, came up kind of twice. So, I heard another doctor mention this, that, relationships really are kind of a form of medicine, which I thought was kind of interesting. Just given that it can be more effective on your health than even quitting smoking. So anyway, a little tidbit there.
I think it comes down to, having something to live for.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel like you have anything to live for, then you're not going to try to do what you need to do to make yourself live longer. So I think people just need to find a purpose of why, what do you want to live for? Mm-hmm. And for, I think most of us, it's our families, right? We're here for our families. We want to see our sons and our daughters grow up and get married and have families of their own. And I think we all look forward to the day we can be grandparents and play and spoil the grandkids and then give them back. So just finding that purpose to, why do we want to live? What do we want to live for?
Yep, absolutely. Well, you've gone through a lot in the last 4 years, and losing 90 pounds. I just want to congratulate you on that. That's a big deal. And I, for sure, am 100% convinced that you laid a lot of groundwork to help make your heart condition recovery much faster and mm-hmm. much more successful. I think the probability of a successful outcome with that probably would have been a bit different if you still had that extra 90 pounds, high cholesterol, high blood sugar mm-hmm. pumping through your body. And I think the big lesson for me in all that is, you need to invest today for something that your body's going to need and require from you down the road. Because every one of us is going to hit a point where our bones get a little bit more brittle. We get older, we age, we might fall. How quickly do we catch ourselves, right? We may end up dealing with some massive health issue, disease. Have we given our bodies the best chance possible to survive those things? And for me, I feel like you did. Like, you gave your body the very best chance. You had something in your life that made you recognize, like, hey, I need to take care of myself. A lot of us don't know that we might have some underlying conditions going on. You mentioned your father-in-law seemed healthy, right? And it wasn't until after the fact that you realized that actually there were some things going on. So being proactive, not waiting. You mentioned that men oftentimes just are like, hey, I don't even want to single out men. I think there's a lot of women that don't go get checked early and take kind of those preventative steps of just checking things out. We focus a lot on symptoms, which is really important. But blood work is what gives doctors some direction on how to treat. Right. So just being a bit more proactive, even when you're younger, because I really truly believe, and I'm going to say this over and over and over again, that the things I'm doing in my 40s are there to help me in my 70s. That's why I do it. That's why I'm like, I try my best, not perfect, try my best to work out and to eat right, because I'm pretty sure like my future self is going to need it, but it's in the investment I'm making today that's going to help me get there. And I feel like your story was kind of case in point of, taking action, not waiting, getting after it. And then you were hit with something else, but you were so much stronger and in a better position to fight it. And here you are, you know, and other things might come. Right. But you're crushing it. And I'm just like super happy for you and for your family. I know it was kind of a bit of a scary time, and it's just great to see you just kind of like back, not super restricted like they had you for a bit.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I love the analogy you made. Kind of, you're investing in your body for the future. We don't know what we're gonna face. We don't know what we're gonna go through later on in life. Whether it's, it could even be a simple car accident. Being, healthier, less weight, more physically fit, I think is gonna help you in all aspects of life. Even with jobs, even sitting behind a computer, looking at a screen all day, it makes a difference.
Does. Well, thanks, Dan. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your story with us, and best of luck as you continue to just keep crushing it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here with you today.
Yeah, awesome. All right, take care.
All right, thank you.